What's happening, people? Welcome back to Inside Devils, the show that keeps you bang up to date with everything coming inside and out of Old Trafford. And the slump continues, guys. The slump continues. 2-0 defeat last night at Molineux. We all wasn't very confident before the game. We all predicted pretty much losses, apart from Angelina's lying when she predicts a draw, but really she means a loss. But other than that, she knew what she was doing. Big welcome back to Jamie Jackson and Angelina Kelly. I hope you guys are doing well, considering the football anyway. Where are we at with that, Angelina? Where are we at with that?
You know what? I actually allowed myself to be foolishly optimistic because before the game, I saw that stat about how Man United in like English Football League and Premier League history have won more games and scored more goals on Boxing Day than any other side. I stupidly listened to that. I allowed myself to have a sliver of hope. And then I think 10 minutes into the game, that just kind of diminished. It's just so deflating. Like, it really, really is deflating. And there's a lot of things that have been said. I'm not even looking at the manager with this. I'm looking at the players. Bruno Fernandes to get a second yellow like that in front of the referee, doing something that was avoidable. Wolves scoring a goal from a corner, the second time in a week this has happened with two different goalkeepers. I've been a massive fan of Andre Onana. I thought that he was coming into his own. But in those situations, like, you can't sit there and cry wolf of, oh, I was sandwiched in. It's not something that's uncommon. We've seen it happen before in the Premier League. This is down to your defenders need to be helping you out in this situation. I think that Amorim, I feel sorry for him in these press conferences. I think he's doing the best that he can. And when you look at the form that Newcastle are in, not even thinking about the games afterwards, I think, yeah, deflating. I like to always be able to walk away from a game with some positives. And I don't know about you guys, I can't see anything positive from that game.
No, I agree with everything you just said there, Jamie. I take it you was at the game, covering the game. Was you there?
I wasn't actually, no. I was at
Oh,
City.
you wasn't. Okay, well, even you
What a
thought. Well, that
relief.
wasn't much better, actually. To be fair, go to City. But no, from what you saw, Jamie, I mean, that you predicted.
Yes.
I think you predicted 3-1 Wolves. There wasn't much pushback to that because we know what this set of players are. We know how they crumble under pressure and can't manage the big occasions. And they're falling again. They failed again.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the game with my United supporting son and his granddad. And his granddad goes
Oh,
back as far as George Best. And at the end of the game, his granddad said, "Oh, I'm getting disillusioned with Manchester United." And he absolutely adores them. I mean, he just does, That's kind of why my son supports them, actually, because of his granddad. But I mean, with regard to the game specifically, it's just, I'm thinking about Amorim, and I agree with you, Angelina. It's nothing to do with him. He's just walked into the place. But what I'm wondering, right, is I get that he's saying he's going to play this 3-4-3, and it's his idea, and that's he's going to go with it to the end. But I'm just wondering, he needs to do something now, just even for the next couple of games, just to maybe arrest this. I'm not saying he has to change the shape, but maybe just do something just to tweak it a little bit. Because I think all the very best, I've got that in the locker. Just, of course you have an ongoing plan or a vision. Of course you do. But within that, part of that vision should be the ability to say to the players, right, we've done this so far, but, for the next couple of games, it's not quite working. Let's do X, Y, and Z. And I'm hoping he's got that in his locker because, he talks about needing results and, this is Manchester United, but he's not getting any at the moment. And I watched that game yesterday, and, I mean, Fernandes' first yellow didn't need to do that. I really rate him. I really think he's probably the best player there, but he doesn't help himself. I mean, I think it's the third red card, and I do believe he's suspended now for Newcastle at home.
Yeah.
So basically, your best
he
player...
is. Yeah.
Yeah, so United's best player, or certainly one of them, the fulcrum, supposedly, is out of the team. Now, maybe, actually, I'm trying to think of a glass half full of positive, Angelina saying, maybe this will somehow help the team because someone else will come in and actually might click, with regard to new personnel. But once again, we're talking about kind of hopes or gambles or will this work, will it won't? And I get this is part of Amorim just starting off. He said there'd be a storm and United are now in it. But he lost 4 of the last 5 Premier League games. Manchester United are 14th. No one's expecting them to be 3rd, but I kind of expect them to be 8th maybe or 7th, possibly 6th by now. But the 14th and, Newcastle at home, who knows what will happen? United may well
Oh,
lose.
we know what's going to happen.
Well, okay,
Mate, Jay, we are losing.
And then Liverpool away, I'm sad to say.
And we are losing that
You
as
know,
well.
that's at Anfield. I mean, you know what Anfield's like. And if it was the other way around, United fans would be, you know, if Liverpool in a similar predicament, United fans would be waiting for that team and the fans to arrive. So, you know, he really needs Amorim to pull something out of the bag. But you're right, Angelina, these players. So, for example, when Fernandes got sent off, I was looking around thinking, who is going to sort of like, who on that pitch can sort of say to the rest of the lads, come on, right, we're not having this, right? We get out of here with a draw at the very least. Come on now. And maybe that was said. Obviously, I'm not at pitch side, I can't hear. But it's a quiet team. I've observed them enough, you know, through the years. I just look at them and I feel like they are lacking. Maybe it's going to be Maguire now, but, you know, they need someone just on the pitch, yes? Like John Terry used to do, like Roy Keane used to do. You know, we can go through them all. Proper captains who just sort of dig in and actually thrive on it. Say, you know, we're going to do this. It's going to be fun, but let's do it properly. I just don't see it. And so, I mean, you know, if we go through it, it's the lack of creativity, the lack of streetwiseness, the nous. The defender's been a bit nasty. You know, Højlund's living off minor scraps. You know, he comes off, but it's not his fault. It's not like Højlund is missing 5, 6, 7, 8 chances a game. He's lucky if he gets 5, 6, 7, 8 chances, maybe 10 games. I'm not exaggerating.
Without a single shot.
And, you know, the team isn't functioning from front to back. It's as simple as that. And then the goalkeeper, I'm sorry, in pre-season when he signed, so that was the tour when they ended up in Las Vegas. I remember it might have been against Real Madrid in America.
Yeah,
it was. It comes out, he tries to clear one, and it goes straight to Real Madrid play. They go down, you know, the United's end and score. And I know that was an opening game. I'm thinking, this guy was supposedly like a quarterback, you know, from goalkeeper, be able to pass it short. And that has been. And then you look at this goal he's conceded. He should be clearing out players, you know. He should be, and he should be saying to his defenders, "Hey, I need some help." You know what I mean? And this is what I'm saying. It's sort of,
absolutely, mate.
Everyone's too passive.
100%. And we're now left in this limbo, right? And this is the sort of big talking point within the fan base of when is the right time to tweak what he's doing. Now, he's come in and set his stall out from second one and said, I'm not moving from this. And that was met with a lot of sort of adulation from the fan base saying, look, good, don't let these players get away with it. They, you know, it doesn't matter what formation it is. They always show their stripes. So, and they won't change their stripes. So he needs to undo it. And the only pushback I have to the sort of tweaking of the formation at this stage is, guys, when we played 4-3-3, 4-4-2, 4-2-3-1 with the same batch of players, they were horrendous. We were breaking the same records with Erik ten Hag. We were breaking the same records when Ralf Rangnick tried to do a 4-2-2. We were breaking the same records with Ollie in the end when it got to the end of his tenure. And we were getting smashed 4-1 by Watford and 3-0 the week before at Leicester, 5-0 at home against Liverpool. That was 4-3-3 counter-attack. That's what apparently these players are more comfortable at. You know, when we there's some revisionism going on in the fan base now. Oh, at least Ruud van Nistelrooy was getting results. I tell you what, guys, those 4 games under Ruud van Nistelrooy, most of them, Pauk were terrible. It was awful. It was Ahmad. Ahmad just decided to win the game on his own for us. Guess what? Just like he did against Manchester City, he decided he was going to win the game for us. So let's not act like there's been a fantastic system that wasn't this beforehand that used to work, and all of a sudden, if you give in and change it, these players will be back. They'll be fine. They'll win some games. No, I kind of think it's more pain because we have got a lot more pain to come, you know. But I do think stick at it because I'm just like, even if you change it, do I think that Bruno Fernandes is operate at a higher level if he goes back to just being the sole 10? Do I think we'll go back to? Do I think Rasmus Højlund's going to get more chances? Well, I just saw that 4-2-3-1 with Erik ten Hag earlier this season. Got Rasmus Højlund was starved of oxygen then. Same as Xerxes. Like, it's the same. He has to undo this piece by piece, layer by layer. And I just think, you know, what I have been thinking, I don't know what you think, Angelina. You see INEOS, right? And I know this could be premature, but you see they've been ruthless. I'm thinking, if it gets really, really, really bad, could they even think about pulling the trigger on Ruben Amorim? And I know I don't ever want that to happen. It shouldn't be on the cards. But they got rid of Dan Ashworth that quick. They've proved they're not, you know, or is it a case of actually they wouldn't even have money to do that even if they wanted to, and they would just look terrible?
It's, you know what, it's a tough one, and I thought it was really interesting what Amorim has said in his presser about how every manager's in danger and that the Man United manager can never be comfortable. He understands the assignment. He's let it be known he knows exactly what he's getting himself in for. But I get what you mean, and it's discussions I've had with other, Man United fans of, could they seriously pull the plug on him? They would look even more ridiculous than they already do. Because I know that there's been reports of, they were always looking for a Ten Hag replacement, even when they gave him that contract extension. And reportedly, it's because, the powers that be weren't in the right places because of when Barada was starting, because when Ashworth was starting, the pieces of the puzzle weren't together. So they thought, oh, let's just keep Ten Hag on. But we're going to keep looking for somebody. That in itself is absolutely ridiculous. So for them to do something else ridiculous, it probably wouldn't surprise me, but surely they could not be taken seriously to spend all that money getting rid of Ten Hag and bringing this guy in to then, before the end of this season, they get rid of him. Like, they have to have some kind of patience, and you would like to think that there is communication going on and that they understand what this guy is up against. I mean, it's not like, I understand that with Sporting, like the following season, they won that title and it was such a big deal. And you can't compare the Portuguese league to the Premier League, but it took him a couple of months there as well to get things working. And I think, fans are patient. I like that Amorim has even said, I don't expect anything from the fans. Like, he knows that people are frustrated. And I would really like to think that we won't see him, be axed. But the way that INEOS have handled things, and they have been ruthless, but ruthless in the wrong way, taking bonuses away, the ticket prices, etc., all these things that we've discussed, they've been ruthless in the wrong ways before, and this would be another way that they would be wrong. And like I say, surely, what manager, unless you want a payday, what manager realistically would they be able to get after that of like, oh, we've got Ten Hag and then we sacked him off. We brought this guy in, paid all this money, and then we also sacked him off as well. Realistically,
They'd have to leave as well. If they did that, they'd have to walk out with them as well, because the lack of faith we would have in them and incompetency that would have been displayed would be staggering.
They need to be focusing on which players realistically they can bring in. I know that reportedly Sir Jim and co have taken a step back from this Marcus Rashford situation. Maybe that's the right decision. But again, for me, I want to see this ruthless behaviour work in a positive way, in that a decision needs to be made. You need to be looking at somebody. I'm sorry, but like Kuna yesterday, he was exceptional. I mean, we probably made Wolves look a bit better than they actually are, but he's the type of player that Man United should be looking at. Somebody that can play in either of those 10 positions. If you pushed Ahmad to right wing back, he could do the right side. He's got 10 Premier League goals this season. He got 12 last season in total. He's been linked to United before. That's the type of stuff they need to be focusing on.
Absolutely.
They need this manager to do what he needs to do. And we need to be looking at recruitment fast. And I don't know with PSR how realistic that is, but something needs to happen.
Onto that, Jamie. I mean, look, with the Marcus Rashford situation, out of the game for a fourth time in a row. For me, I don't think Marcus Rashford's getting into each training session going, right, I might have a chance here. Tell me at the end, am I in, am I out? I think they've said to him from very early when he's done that, you're not going to be in the matchday squads until we sort this out. Because there's no way that I think Marcus Rashford is, continuing to train at this horrific level. I just think since he's done that interview, they've decided you're gone. And, there's only a few weeks left till January at the time it happened. So, we're pretty much at the window. How important is it and how difficult is it to find a suitor for Rashford? Something that in January, something that frees up money as well, because I just don't see how that happens.
Yeah, I mean, you identified basically the massive headache Amorim has here, because when he came in, or when he was sort of signed, Amorim, sort of like, they did the deal, it was sort of, looks like it's going to become official. I did a story saying he will have close to zero money in January. It's basically a sort of sell to buy scenario, or offload to sign a scenario. So you factor that in, and then I'm afraid to say, I've said it before, but Marcus Rashford's on 365 a week, and he's not in the team at the moment. Not really had a good couple of.
365. Oh
He's
my
yeah,
god.
yeah. He's had a couple of duff seasons since he signed that contract. Obviously, or sorry, this is his second duff season since. So where does he go? I mean, it's a perennial question. Where is it a loan thing, a bit like the Sancho to Dortmund or the Sancho to Chelsea,
I
or
literally think it'd be that, Jamie.
eh?
I literally
Sorry.
think it'd be that.
Yeah,
I
but
literally
yeah, I
think
mean, but even then, I would guess they'd have to pick up maybe 70 or 80% of that wage. I mean, it depends which club it is,
easily.
obviously. So it's a bit of a. I mean, I think what you're going to see, and I hope I'm proved wrong, because I want Manchester United to do well, as I want sort of Manchester City, who I also cover, to do well. And you're going to see a kind of patched up couple of loan signings coming, probably. You know, that's the best I can. I just do not see. You know, a proper, if I can say it, marquee player coming in and you think, yeah, okay, that's the start of the Amorim thing. I think you're going to have to wait to the summer for that. I mean, it's the old thing. In the long term, shifting Rashford is the right decision. And it's a little bit like we're talking about. And I completely agree with you, Flex, when you're saying about, well, a little bit of pushback against tweaking the formation because he's got his idea and, you know, he has to stick by it. So what, you know, in both scenarios, there's a long-term vision there for the formation. There's a long-term vision with regard to getting rid of Rashford and starting to overhaul. But you've also got the immediate term where you need to have some results to keep the sort of idea, you know, the vision of how you play going, and also, you know, the fans happy because they're paying a lot of money, and you know, it's Manchester United, and it's that juggling thing all the time, and it is very, very difficult. I do feel that he is sort of, to use, you know, a cheesy sporting analogy, behind the eight ball. Amrin, he's sort of like snookered, you know, he's sort of like, what the heck does he do here? And you're right, Angelina. I mean, you know, what do they expect the guy to do? And I think you kind of touched upon it. The Ashworth thing, right? It was characterised to me as from someone who definitely, you know, round the table saying, we know this looks silly getting rid of Ashworth, right? But better to do it now, yes, than, you know, you go further and it really not work. And basically the same, not with Rashford, time to cut losses was the phrase used to me. So what we're getting on to say is, I would not be surprised, and it would still be crazy and silly and farcical, but I would not be surprised if the results continued down this way. Ratcliffe just pulls the trigger, because basically Ashworth was gone because Ratcliffe decided he couldn't work with him, and I don't know the exact reason what it was about, what it was they clashed on, but and again, just like you two were saying, I don't want that to happen. I think Amorim, you know, whatever happens this season, even if it's relegation, I'm not a fan, so maybe fans have a different, you know, I don't think it will be relegation, but I'm exaggerating to make a point, right? Whatever happens, he should obviously stay in place, because the guy, you know, he needs a chance. He needs a proper chance. You can't just sort of.
Agreed.
If you Ratcliffe, let's say he loses the next five. I'm sure it won't happen, but you never know. But if you know, even then, Ratcliffe should not be going, oh, well, you know, this guy is tough. He should be smart enough, right, and be taking advice from these football people to think, okay, yeah, I've got this guy in because you know, on a long term thing, so he deserves a long term. But Ashford was brought in, remember, right, to sort of be the chief football advisor to Ratcliffe. You know, to Barada, he's the guy with the brains. What he says will basically take the lead from, because that's why we're employing him. He's gone. And that concerns me. Because what does that say? Okay, maybe he should have been in the place in the first place, but why did they employ him? You know, without understanding what his ideas were, how he
Exactly.
reacting in certain situations. Look, for example, what happens if we bring in a 3-4-3 playing coach and you don't agree with that system because the players we've got? What would you say? Well, actually, I'd push back against that because I don't think it's, you know what I mean? Maybe they did war game all this stuff, but if so, it's even worse because when it came to it, you know, it wasn't carried through. So it's a mess. I'm sorry to say. I don't take any pleasure in saying that. It is a mess. And I always say this, one time, a manager will walk into that place and get it right, and it will have to be, you know, Ten Hag's joke used to be, I'm not Harry Potter, but to a certain extent, I think you have to be a bit of a magician to sort this one out. And I'm hoping Amorim is the man, because I really like him, and it counts for something. Because I think if I really like him, other people do, including the players, you know, the people who his job relies on, and I think he's bright. I think you know, he's got a certain spark, a bit of joy about him, which is how football played the right way should be. United, when they play the best under Ferguson, however you want to describe it, it was a joyful thing to watch. Whether you're a fan or not, you couldn't keep your eyes off that team because it's amazing, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's his idea. I just hope Ratcliffe understands this, because it's down to him.
He has to. When you've spent that much money undoing the mistake of Eric Ten Hag and then invested all this money into Ruben Amorim, and then you've poorly invested the money into the squad for players that were Eric Ten Hag, you have to wait this out. As long as Man United don't get relegated, if we have to finish 16th, that's it, mate. That's it. Like, I've already told myself, these are our lotto numbers, 11 to 16. That's where we're going to occupy. We're not even mid-table fodder. Mid-table's like, you're solidly 10th or 9th. You're halfway. We're not. We're below that. We're not even mid-table fodder. We have to accept what we are in this moment. And I think if we can do that, then the long-term game, it's almost like, I feel like, like an actor gets given lines, right? And then the person who plays that character might change. And you go, these aren't my lines. This script wasn't written for me. It's the same with this squad. Like, this squad was not written for Ruben Amorim. With nobody who can play wing back, nobody who can basically play inside tens, no proper striker who can dominate a front line. Like, it wasn't built for what he wants. And there was a journo yesterday, I don't know if you saw it, Angelina, that tried to catch Ruben Amorim out and say, oh, Vitor Pereira's been there, a couple of games, new system, and he's managed to... And he went, it's not a new system. It's not a new system. This Wolves' squad was assembled with 3-4-3 in mind. They've been playing that since Prime Nuno, since João Moutinho and Neves holding, since, Adama Traore inside 10 with Podence, Neto and these guys, and Raul Jimenez, and Willy Bolly in a back three with Nelson Semedo. They've been playing this system for ages, as has Vitor Pereira at his old club in Saudi. So Ruben Amorim is very aware that he doesn't have the tools with how this squad was made.
And I think these comparisons are really irritating me, because I think it's just stupid, if I'm being completely honest, because how can you compare somebody walking into, no disrespect, walking into Wolves, take systems out of it completely? Do you think that Wolves manager has got the same amount of things? I know that there's issues at Wolves as well, but it's a completely different ball game, whether you want to admit it or not. Manchester United is different to Wolves, and I'll die on that hill. Do you know what I mean? I think it's just really silly. And I think even this comparison to 1932 or something, that this is the worst performance by any new Man United manager since 1932. That manager was the club secretary, apparently. It wasn't even a full-time man. Like, are we seriously going down this route? It is ridiculous.
There's context, yeah.
It's ridiculous to even try and pin things like this. It's meaningless. And it's like, this guy, I mean, it speaks volumes. We were all joking yesterday, me and some mates were watching the game. Do you think he's rang Sporting up? Because they've obviously got rid of his replacement already. Do you think he's rang him up and said, do you remember when I said I was going to United? Well, it was an early April Fool's, kind of comeback. We were, all joking. But it's, it's just really frustrating when I see that, because this guy, I think he understands the assignment. I like the way that he's speaking, that he said, I'm not giving you a time period on when this will be fixed. He's already pre-warned us that this is not going to be easy. I think he's trying to back the players as best as he can. I don't think Marcus Rashford has helped him in any way, shape or form. And if I was Marcus Rashford's manager, I would have already sat him down and said, you've played your last game. Because if you're going to take the mick like this, that's not... Why would he be playing a player, build a foundation, when the player clearly doesn't want to be there?
Exactly. You can't build upon that. You can't. It's impossible.
It is a waste of time. So, and that is why, as much as I have tried to back Marcus Rashford, I have always been a Marcus Rashford fan. I have always rooted for him. I actually feel bad for the guy, and I don't like the amount of hate that he gets. But why are we wasting our time? Why would Ruben Amorim be playing him week in, week out, when the guy clearly don't want to be there? So it's all these things. He's got the Rashford situation. He's got INEOS, someone like Jim Ratcliffe, who clearly just pulls the plug and does whatever he wants. And he's clearly very hands-on. You've got people like that breathing down your neck. You've got also just the personal things of moving to a completely different country. He has a very good command of the English language, but as someone who speaks a second language, it's not easy at all. And I just feel like he's got a lot of different things going on.
Angelina, what language do you speak? What's your second language? Spanish, fluent.
Yeah, fluently. I lived in Spain.
Love that.
And trust me, it is hard to kind of, when you're not speaking the language constantly, you have a bit of a shock to the system sometimes. So I couldn't imagine, being dropped in Spain tomorrow and having to speak it fluently every single day to the level that...
In the press conferences with people like Jamie there, ready to hang on every word.
Exactly.
Get you in the papers.
Exactly. I'd have been like,
easy.
a translator in for these first few press conferences. But, I really like the way that he's speaking. I think that people have taken this whole survival thing and, maybe looked at it more from a relegation point of view. But I think, what else can this guy say? That it is survival. We have just got to keep fighting.
That's it.
In Amorim, I trust. And
Yep.
I think that anybody, fans that are saying get rid of him, Someone tell me who you're bringing in, because
No. And to be fair, I actually haven't heard fans say get rid of him. It's just more thinking forward of, I know what's going to happen in these next 3 games. We'll talk about Newcastle really quickly before we wrap up. We are taking some serious L's in the next 3 games. We might not win a game until mid-January. And if you add in the 3 we just lost, you're talking 6 losses back-to-back in all comps it's going to end up, which I think it will, personally. Well, Crookie couldn't be here today, but he had some absolutely scathing things to say about these bunch of players.
They're just useless to a man. They're just rubbish. This is the worst Manchester United team in a generation. The stadium is falling apart. The owners are trying to fleece the fans at every time by putting up ticket prices to watch Anthony toil. I mean, there's never been arguably a worse time to be a Manchester United fan, maybe since they got relegated in the 70s. The only good thing the club have got is their history, because the present day is absolutely turgid, and it's not going to get any better anytime soon.
It's Project 40 points. That's what we are. Project 40 points, man. When we hit 40 points on that Inside Devil show, I promise you, I'm going to celebrate. I'm going to celebrate 40 points. I swear. Yeah, exactly. Let's look ahead. Let's look ahead to Newcastle before we finish up. No Bruno, no Ugarte available. Bruno Guimaraes, Tonali, and Joe Linton. Very physical, can run about the park, can dominate games. We are in, guys, I'm sorry. We are in for a bad time. 3-1 Newcastle, mate. Honestly, maybe even 3-0. I don't see. We're going to have to bring in Casemiro. Cobby's looked off it as well. Do you bring in Eriksen? If you got Casemiro and Eriksen against Tonali, Bruno, and bloody Joe Linton, not great. Anthony Gordon's banging form down our right-hand side, which ain't great. Our left wing-back ain't great, but Jacob Murphy's in the goals. I mean, Isak, what do you want? What do you want? I mean, sorry, guys. I just cannot see it. Jamie, what say you about this game?
Well, when you read out those 3 midfielders for Newcastle, I thought exactly what you just said then. Pace and power, physicality. Quite brutal in a way. And then I'm thinking, basically the 2-man midfield against that, right, which he plays. And as you just said then, I was actually thinking Collier, but maybe I'm being naive just because for some young legs. What was the game he came on?
Because he can run. Liverpool at half-time.
Yeah, and if we've not seen him since...
Put him on that game.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking, what are the... I mean, I can't think of any options, which, Mainu... I love Mainu. Oh, my word. I mean, I'm not a United fan, but when he scored that FA Cup winner, I was at the game. I was like, what a story. That is beautiful, right? But he's not been quite the same this season, But I'm hoping maybe he's going to run into some form. So it's got to be him and another. Is it Casemiro? I suppose it is. I can't really think of...
Casemiro's got to be in there. I think he might even go Eriksen because he can look after the ball a bit better, maybe, but he can't run.
I was wondering whether he might try... I mean, he probably won't, but Martinez has played as a holding before. I'm just trying to think of, midfield. I'm just trying to think of another option. But basically, we are here scratching our heads, right? So Amorim will be. I mean, this is not great. I mean, when you would go through the players of United, who's in form apart from Ahmed Diallo? I don't know. Mazraoui, maybe?
Nobody.
No, the keeper certainly isn't, right? You know what I mean?
No.
Maybe Maguire.
Nobody,
you're looking at 2-3 players at the most. But being a glass half full person, maybe this is the game that turns around United's season. Something clicks. Someone comes in and says, right, I'm going to take this team back to scruff and neck. And we look back, and this is almost like the Mark Robbins moment. And 10 years from now, we won all the Premier Leagues, 3 Champions Leagues. Oh, you remember that game against Newcastle? I don't think so.
That glass is not half full. It's full, mate. Your glass is full. It's not half
brimming
full.
over. So, I mean, a draw would be a great result. I know you're at home. You should be, looking to beat them. But, a draw would steady the ship. I've got to be honest, as a journalist, I'm really, and a watcher of football, I'm really looking forward to it because of everything we're talking about. I know you two are fans and you'll have different feelings, but it's really
intriguing.
Curious about it.
Yeah. Angelina, what say you?
It is, I guess, if I took my Man United hat off, I think all the discussion points within this game, from a Newcastle perspective, they've been a bit up and down. They missed out on Europe. It seems like they're on track to maybe get that European football again. They love a goal. I think they've scored, 14 goals in 4 games or something ridiculous like that. I think you then look at Man United and what's going on. It's a very interesting game. I think that for me, it's the goals. This is a side, especially when you look at Isak, he's got 11 Premier League goals now. this is a side that can score goals, and Manchester United are a side that cannot score goals and are lacking in
And
confidence.
can't defend.
Yeah, lacking in confidence.
There's
Look,
two good ingredients.
you've got a shaky goalkeeper, you've got a defence that have got no confidence and are not gelling, in my opinion. You've then got a midfield that, you're lacking someone like Ugarte, who I thought had some really, I guess if I had to grasp at a positive, I liked a couple of the things that I saw him doing, chasing the ball down, etc., which again should be a bare minimum from a footballer, but I'll take that. You've got someone like Højlund who I feel sorry for. Every area of the pitch Man United are lacking, and in the area of the pitch where it counts, getting the ball in the back of the net, Newcastle are simply better. And you never know, I might even have to cut my losses and actually predict a loss here, because
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah. You've seen the light.
Angelina,
You've seen the
wow.
light. Yeah.
I know, I can't be out here looking foolish, can I?
No, you got to just be honest. And to be honest, it isn't even just the goals, like you said, Angelina, which is so true. Newcastle are better in every department than us. Physicality, winning duels, defending. Look at the set pieces, which we're second on, by the way. Well, probably outright second, not joint anymore, because we conceded another one yesterday. I'm looking at Shah, Botman, Joe Linton. Who else is big? Isak's quite tall.
The left back.
They've also
tall lad.
Dan Burn, yeah. Actually Botman's out, so it'll probably be Burn and Shah anyway. But again, big guys, what are we going to do from set pieces against that? You could just see it, can't you? You can just see it. Bruno Guimaraes, good ball in. Anthony Gordon, good ball in, concede from set pieces. And then in open play, I just don't see how we can match them physically. We just don't have enough players out there. And I have enough players that are willing to bridge the gap through effort and tenacity and application that they might lack in actual physical attributes to bridge the gap. I don't see it. I don't see it. So for me, really difficult night at Old Trafford under the lights. A loss. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I can't see it any other way. Guys, thank you for coming on and taking time out to talk and have therapy. Not so much Jay. Not so much Jamie. He's just, I wasn't going to say enjoying it. He's not enjoying it, but he doesn't have the same emotional attachment, it's fair to say. But thank you guys for watching. We'll be back with another one after the Newcastle United game. Hopefully, there's 3 points at the end of it. Big shout out to Angelina Kelly and Jamie Jackson. We'll see you on the next episode of Inside Devils. We are gone. Take care, guys. Peace.